What is going on, everybody? It's Mud here with TCG Armory, and today we're going to be doing a small video just talking about TTS 101, especially in relations with the card game Chronicles of Arcane. So, in TTS, this is your main menu. This is everything you're going to see. Right here, this is Create. You can create a single player instance, a multiplayer instance, and that's just kind of the two that you're really going to be focused on. So if you are going to be the host, this is what you need to know. This is going to be your server name, what they can look up and join. And if it's public with no password, that means that anybody is able to join. But if you do set a password, they have to know this in order to jump in with you. If you have it set to friends, this will operate through Steam. Any of your Steam friend lists can just jump in, or anyone that is invited through Steam will be able to join if you just have it set to this. So I usually set a password to be my own name, and then the max amount of players I want, I'll say 2. So I'll go ahead and create the server. This will bring up classic games, DLC games that you can purchase, workshop games that you've subscribed to, but for my purpose, I'm just going to be using my recording table. Okay, so now that we're in TTS, there's a couple things that we can do. Up here, this is your top menu. This will have everything that you will need to focus on. These tools over here are way more focused for design and more in-depth actions. Your chat is down here in this bubble right here. This is notes. This is where you can just add something like, oh, make sure I don't know, I want dice, or I want to add ancients and essence and card IO spawner. Okay. So these are my notes, things I can keep over here. Now, that's just going to gunk up my screen, so I am going to take that out. Up here, you have players. Whenever you would want to invite someone, you can do it like that. Up here is your rotation degrees, and this is whenever you would want to rotate something. That is how much it does. I think the game starts you out at like 30. For all intentions and purposes of card games, you want to set to 90. So I come up here into objects where it brings me up this menu where I have components, tables, backgrounds, and saved objects. Components is just everything nonchalant. You got blocks, boards, dice. I can come in here and say, oh, I wanted some dice. So I can just do one at a time, or I can draw to do a couple. Tables, this will change kind of what you're looking at, where you're playing at. I'm going to keep my custom table like that. Okay. So now that I'm in TTS, let's say that I want to grab a deck from the Chronicles Arcane Playnetwork. I can do so with this Card.io deck spawner. What you're going to need is you will need a code. And now that you're at the Chronicles Arcane Playnetwork, you're going to be looking at this. This is the event page, but what you're looking for is decks. Now, let's say you wanted to try one of the community decks. You can do so in the community tab where you can see everyone who's been making decks and publishing them. Or you can come into your own decks and you have the option to build a deck with all the available cards on the Play Network or load previous decks you've made. So, for all intents and purposes, I'm just going to use this one to demonstrate. Come back into tabletop. I'm able to throw this on the code that's pasting that TTS code that we just copied from the site right here. If I go here, copy TTS code, come back in, import deck, boom, simple as pie. Okay, so now I have it here. I can hold. If I hold and click, that lets me drag everything at once. But if I just click and grab, that gives me one at a time. Now, if I grab the board, I can highlight. When I do that, I can press G. G is gather. Okay, so then I can grab one card off the top and flip it. Flip is F. Cool. Now let's say that I want to bring a card out like this, and I wanted to tap it, like I was mentioning earlier with that 90 degrees. Q rotates left, and E rotates right. So I do Q, that's left, E, that's right, and I can do that. If you hold them, they will just spin in whatever direction you're holding them in, and that's that. Next thing is, let's just say I wanted to grab an X amount of cards on the top of my deck. I have the option to right click and I can draw, or I can do this, flip, I can shake together as well, put them back on top, and press 7, and that will draw me 7 cards. Now let's say I'm beginning to start the game and I want to shuffle my deck. There's a couple ways to do this. First way is R. R equals shuffle. Or I can sit and hold it and shake it. That will also shuffle it. Now let's say like I don't like the size of this card. It's too small. You can do two things here. You can press right click, go into scale. You can scale it up or scale it down. Or hovering over it, you can control plus or control minus. Okay, so next thing you might want to do is like, oh, I have this card. I can use my mouse scroll wheel to get in there. But let's just say I didn't want to do that. I want to keep this I'm doing right here. If I press Alt over a card, it'll highlight it for me. And then if I continue to scroll with my mouse wheel, I can make it bigger. Now we have a couple things on the board, let's just say, and I wanted something specific to be looked at. I could go, hey, I'm going to use this essence right here and something with this, and I'm going to do an effect. This arrow I'm doing right here, that is tab. It allows me to ping anything I would want. All right. So now you've got your deck in, you kind of got it how you want it. There's a couple things you can do, but let's just say like you wanted to come in here, build your deck, and take it with you. If you wanted to save one object, you can just right click and go to save object and save it like that. Or let's just say I wanted to have it pre-set up for when I have a playmat. I can highlight the whole thing and then save it, and it will save according to how I made it. I have two examples right here where I have this deck. This is the same deck, but then also have it scaled up and saved just like that. And it'll spawn in how I made it. Now, a couple more housekeeping things, like for example, these tools, if you don't want them on the side, you are able to go up into this configuration menu and you go to interface. This top menu is up here, player names, notes, tools, and then chat. When I record, I like to turn all of this off just so that I have a nice clean board. There's nothing distracting going on, just so that I can make it nice and neat. I can press escape to go back into that menu and turn everything back on. As far as this, what I'm doing right here, this is right mouse button to click and hold, and it'll move my view according to how I'm dragging. If I do middle mouse button and move, it'll do the same thing as WASD, which is WSAD. And this is me moving with my mouse keys. This is me moving with the mouse button. Sorry, this is me moving with the keys, not mouse keys. And then that's with the mouse button. I hope that answers any questions you might have on Tabletop Simulator. Please leave any further questions in the comments below. Thank you so much, and I hope to see some games with you soon.